it because we had no cell service. Oh,
right.
Hey, everybody. We're talking about cell phone service.
We're talking about
Maybe we should talk
service,
about author expenses, man. Maybe
yeah,
that's a good topic.
Yeah, I was just telling. Well, welcome to the Writer's Life. Pleasure to decide on a small state for part of the life. Anyway,
you get truth, the whole truth. We're about to tell you truth. All right, go ahead.
You get whole truth and nothing but truth. We love you long time here at Writer's Life. Long time.
You've been here 4 hours. You go now. You eat like killer whale.
Yeah, no more shrimp for you. Yeah. How about your holiday, Mr. Zandri?
Yeah. That's a good start. That's a good start to this podcast.
That's a good start. We just fucking pissed off like all our entire Asian audience. But
yes.
But yeah, I just got sick and tired of all these extra expenses. So I was just telling Troy that like I was paying $200 in car insurance for my Jeep, and I found a cheaper program at Progressive. I'm not getting paid to say that, for $50.
Yeah.
Boom, done. My website is Tertulia now, which is an author-centric website. If you're an author, check it out. Again, we're not getting paid for this, but Troy and I both use it. $10 a month as opposed to $40 a month, and it was awful. It was an awful platform.
Yep.
And now I just switched. I got rid of Verizon finally on my phone because that was close to $200 a month. And now for $50 I have T-Mobile. And here's the thing. I have a new number, and I'm like, oh shit, now that I have a new number, I'm going to have, but I have like, first of all, you and I have never communicated on the phone. We've always communicated by WhatsApp.
We've texted like a couple times.
Maybe, okay.
A couple times in the U.S., but mostly when you're in Europe, we use WhatsApp, and we use LinkedIn messages. And I mean, we could call, but like,
I hardly use the phone at all. The only time I use the phone is like for my mother and my sisters or something like that. And I have like 6 friends. Like that's it. and so like I notified them, and I'm like, I'm done. Like I don't have to tell anybody about my new number. So it's not like I'm outside at a bar or something like that. Oh, I'm going to be getting phone calls from people. No, I'm not. Yeah. Like, if something happens in publishing world, which it rarely does anymore, unless I make it happen, I don't need my phone.
That's an interesting thing too. Everything in the publishing world happens through email now.
Absolutely.
If we think about it, like the last time I got a call, like I've set up, but even if I set up calls, usually it's a video call through Zoom or like Teams or something else.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know if I can even remember the last time I got a call that was publishing related on my phone.
I don't remember the last time, unless it was, was Eric at Down and Out.
Right. Oh,
and now he's gone.
But I mean, the thing about it is, like, we use our phones. Like, what I do is use it as a portable computer, honestly. If I'm out and about, I check my email, or I use but like, as far as phone calls, like, there are a few people that I text back and forth with and call back and forth with, but I'm like, I probably it has this thing on my phone where you set up, favorites and stuff. Like, because I have my kids. If I look at it, it's my kids and a couple of friends, Holly's sister, Holly when she's at work.
It's very similar. Yes.
And the rest of it, if I scroll down far enough, is just junk.
Yeah.
Like, it's just spam or whatever. But I mean, there's a few people, but like, as far as business is concerned, most people, I tell them, email me. If you text me, I'm probably going to ignore you.
Right.
Right.
Because now, and actually, like, 2 of those people I was talking about were convinced that, like, this is spam, so I'm going to delete it. So I assume, I haven't heard back from one of them, and I assume she thought it was spam. So,
Yeah. And the way you'll get her to not think it's spam is email her from your known email address and tell her your phone number.
Right. Otherwise,
but I mean,
I could give a rat's ass, about my phone number, my new phone.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's like, as far as for phone calls and text, like, it's really family and close friends, and that's it. I mean, and as writers, like, I find this with a lot of writers, it's like I have a handful, maybe a dozen friends that I communicate with on a regular basis. using a phone or whatever, and the majority of them I do not. And well, some of those are family members, so that doesn't really even count. You know what I mean? So that's really interesting. But anyway, but that does bring us. So Stacy and I talked the other day on our podcast about like necessary author tools and like getting rid of like. Yeah, I mean, you just need to get rid of some of the extra stuff. Like I find I'm paying for 2 different services that do pretty much the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing with your TV services,
Give me a rundown.
Well, like, so.
I'm going to grab my water. Hang on.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So anyway, what inspired our podcast was that I saw an article on Substack by one of my favorite people I follow about AI. And she said, basically what you need to do is you break it down into, you need like 4 categories of tools as an author. And that's really all you need. Like you need some kind of software to write in. You can use Word, you can use whatever, whatever breed. And there's all kinds of them out there that cost, per month. They're charging you per month for their software instead of, just your annual Microsoft subscription or whatever. And some of those are better than others. But the question is like, do you need them?
Right.
And then usually if they're free, like I always tell people about Google Docs, I'm like, the reason I don't like Google Docs isn't because I don't like the way you write in Docs or whatever.
I don't like it either.
It's because if you're not paying for it, you're the product. So there's privacy issues with that. Google's using whatever shit you write in there to train their AI to do whatever they want with, right? So, I mean, there's that, right? But you need something to write in, something to edit in. Sometimes that's just the same software. Like you don't necessarily need 2 types of software for that. And there's so many of those that you can either pay like a low-cost subscription or don't pay for them at all, that it doesn't really matter. I mean, I need Microsoft anyway for the other things that I do. So I'm like, I'm paying for their subscription. It's not because I'm in love with Microsoft, because it's just the industry standard. You submit something to an agent, what format do you put it in? Word? I mean, you don't send them some wacko link to some other writing program. No. Right? So
they won't take it if you do.
So writing and editing is Word. Like you don't need like the Adobe Suite, stuff like that.
That hasn't changed.
Then you need a website provider, like we were talking about Tortulia. If you pay for Tortulia a year at a time, it's $8 a month.
Right.
If you pay for it, then it's only $10 a month if you pay for it monthly. I mean, kind of almost who cares? $10 a month is like nothing.
It's less than 2 beers at the bar.
Right. Exactly. Oh yeah, easily less than 2 beers at the bar. It's less than an old fashioned most places. I can tell you that for sure.
For sure. Less than a double shot of whiskey.
Especially in New York, Now if you come to my house, to my bar at my house, I'll charge you less. But anyway.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, anytime. But you need something like that. Then you need an email provider to send out emails to your list, right? Well, there's deals where you can get lifetime deals on stuff for that. So you pay once, you never pay again. That's a program I use. The one I use is called Encharge, but I got it on this AppSumo deal. But it doesn't matter. Like you can find one that's like a lifetime deal. Right. That's all you need. And then you might need a social media scheduling program, marketing, whatever. Right. And then you need some kind of like tracking software. And this is what we were talking about, like tracking software to like analyze your business side of things. Where's money coming from? Where's it going out for ads, cover design, editors, whatever it is that you're paying for, right? And sometimes there's some software for that too. Yeah. And so like those are the basic things you need. And I find authors, they have, well, I have 3 of this program over here. And I'm like, why do you have that?
Right.
Like, why do you have that? Why do you need it? Like, I mean, I understand if it's some kind of psychological thing you need it for or whatever, but I'm like, you don't need that program. I mean, nowadays, what you also need usually is like an AI chat program that you do stuff in, right? That lets you do stuff. But pick one. Like pick one. You don't need 3. Right. Pick one. If that's Claude, Chat GPT, Perplexity, whatever. But you don't need to have Chat GPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, Grok. You don't need 5. You need one.
No. One.
Pick one.
Yep.
So it's a good idea. And this is a good time of year to do it, is just sit down and audit what you have and go, do I need this? And I mean, at the same time, audit all the other shit you got. You got Netflix, Amazon Prime, USA, Sling TV, HBO Max. I mean, how many of those do you actually watch? And how much of that can you watch a week, especially if you're a writer and you've got a bunch of shit to do? I mean, how do you watch so much TV?
I watch a little when I'm eating dinner at my desk. And
yeah.
And half the time that's Amazon Prime, so I'm paying for the movie, and what's Prime a month? Like $14 or something like that?
Yeah, or something like that. Or I just pay yearly, and it's like $21.30 a year now, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But the thing is, I'm paying for that anyway because I want my packages delivered faster, and I want my, all that kind of stuff. So I'm paying for Prime anyway. So like that one almost doesn't count, So it's like, well, it just depends on like what you actually watch and use and what you need. And the problem is people will have some new show will come on another platform and they'll just subscribe to it to get that show. But when they're done watching that show, they don't ever unsubscribe. Like they just keep that thing
still. You gotta unsubscribe.
So gotta unsubscribe, man. Anyway, because we don't make, like we talked about on other podcasts, like we don't make a ton of money here. So like you got to watch what you're doing and what you're paying for, So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's, suddenly you look up and you're like, wow, like that money's going out fast. And it's like, for what? And like, like it was so unusual for me to like break away from, like I've broken up relationships more often than I've broken up with my insurance carrier. Like I've had the same Allstate insurance carrier since 2001. And I just automatically just accepted what the price was and whatever. Yeah. And like he didn't bat an eye when I was like, like it's too expensive, I'm going over to Progressive. He's like, I don't blame you.
Yeah, it doesn't. The thing is, it's almost like you need to just reassess and break up with those companies every 6 months or a year. But like when I bought my truck that I have now, like the dealer that sold me the truck said, hey, what are you doing for insurance? And we said, oh, no, we're doing this. This is how much it's costing. He goes, let me save you some money. And he sent me to this insurance agent he had, and like she cut my insurance in half, easily, quick. And because it was like, well, okay, now let's pay attention to what we're paying for here, So I mean, it's because it's like, and I mean, this applies to everybody, not just a writer or whatever, but like how many tools and stuff do you have, things you subscribe to that you don't even ever use,
Oh, it was getting ridiculous. And it's like, I'm always like tight this time of the year because it's tax time and all that. And I've already blown a shitload of money in Europe and all that sort of stuff. And so like now I got to wait till like just a few months and then like I'll be flush again. But it's always you always get to like, and this is the writer's life for sure. Like you get to like a few months where you're like, this is going to be tight. I'm going to have to be creative with how I'm going to make the cash flow. And the trick is to not over leverage yourself so that you have to pay it back later. But you do, but it's important to have a decent credit line with the bank if you ever need it or anything like that. And when I was doing my treatment during my unpleasantness last year and the year before, like I needed that because not only was it expensive, but like I wasn't, even though I was still producing words, I wasn't nearly as prolific as I would normally be. And the business lagged. It was more like,
the business side lags.
And I wasn't making the money that I would normally.
Well, and Holly and I were talking about this the other day, and it's really interesting because what the thing with publishing is like, the effect is not exactly immediate. because you get paid from Amazon 60 days later, right? You get paid by some other places 90 day, Ingram and stuff like 90 days later, right? So you go, well, okay, if I have a bad month in November where I'm not working as hard, when I pay for that is February.
Right.
Like, so it's not a thing of like, you know, a normal person, if you miss work this week, next week's paycheck is short. It's not like that. If you're a writer, you know, when you're going through treatments and stuff, you're paying for that 3 months later when you're actually feeling pretty good again. You know, but your wallet isn't feeling good because it cost you on that early part of things. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, we're in an interesting business at an interesting time. But it's just the payment structure. And this is, I think, another reason why authors are going to a lot of direct sales, is because if you're running Facebook ads to direct sales, if you're running to Amazon and you sell a lot of books through your Facebook ads, that's great, but you don't get paid for that for 60 days, right? But if you're running to direct sales on your website, you get paid for that now. Like somebody orders a book, you get paid within a day or two, depending upon how you have your system set up. You know, so it's more sustainable because you have a better cash flow. So, you know, I think it's another reason people are doing that.
Yeah, and it's, as opposed to 10 years ago, like, I can't believe how much things have changed in 10 years. And the change 10 years prior to that was monumental. And the change, and 10 years before that, 100, it was the same for decades before that.
Yeah. You know, for like 40 years, like, publishing was pretty much, it was fairly stable, is what I'd say. It wasn't,
the 60s through
it wasn't great for the authors always, but it was, because it never really has been great for the authors. But it was the same. It was sustainable, and your path to publication was the same, and things were fairly predictable. And then we hit the 90s and early 2000s, and everything changed. And then you and I both know, from 2005 to 2015, the publishing world flipped on its head. From 2015 to now, like, it's like publishing flipped on its head again. It's like it's doing somersaults all over the place. And we have to navigate that. If we're going to keep doing this, like, we have to navigate that every time something changes. It's wild.
I had always relied on 2 or 3 good advances per year. Always.
Yeah.
And I haven't taken an advance. I'm trying to think, what was the last advance I took? It was during COVID.
Yeah.
It was probably with Ocean View during COVID. I think that was the last one I took. And
I was going to say, I think my last one was 2018, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Well, not far from it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And
not far off of yours, but a little bit off of it, because,
but I mean,
like, you know, publishers stopped giving big advances, kind of like that. Just kind of went the way of the dodo, with a few exceptions. And then small presses definitely don't give advances, and for good reason. And like, I always was really leery of advances anyway, because I'm like, it's not
your money.
It's not your money. It's a loan.
Your money. Right.
And the publisher owns your ass until you pay it back.
Right.
You know, and you pay it back through earning money by selling books. So, like, you just have to, it's this constant treadmill. So I was like, the advance, though, that just makes sure it's that hanging over your head, as you know. And if you don't earn out, man.
And with every advance you don't earn out, you become less attractive to the system.
To publishers. To the system.
Doesn't matter how many goddamn books you've sold overall. Doesn't matter how many awards you've won. You just become less attractive to the people, you know, counting the money, the change counters.
And you need, the thing is, well, and now, like, when I was talking to people about our small press, about Alibi, I said, look, the number one thing, there's 2 things that are number 1 and number 2 that we have to look at with every author. And the first one is, obviously, it has to be a good story, right? I mean, you got to have talent, like we talked about before. You got to have talent. You got to have some skills. You got to be able to write a good story. Awesome. But the second thing is marketability. Like, can we market this book? So I had a guy come up to me at a conference this last week, and he said, would you be interested? Would you guys be interested in looking at my book at all? I go, what genre is it? He tells me it's some dark fantasy or some other thing or whatever. And I said, nope. And he said, why not? I go, well, first of all, it's outside the genre that we publish. I go, second of all, we have our marketing people concentrated on selling 1 to 2 genres that they can focus on. And so I can't market that book reasonably.
Right.
And if I can't market it, I can't take it on.
That's just reality of it.
It's just the rule of it. And so I'm like, I feel bad because I want to take on every book that everybody brings to me and go, man, that's a great story. Let's publish it. Right. But I'm like, I would go broke really fast. We would all go broke really fast. Like, we cannot do that. We have to take on books that we can market and sell. You know, like when we take on some of yours, your backlist. Oh,
that's weird.
Switch sides. What in the world are you doing? I mean, it was we had a moment there.
We did. You didn't think?
But yeah, like so when we take on
too much.
Yeah, when we take on some of your print books and stuff, I mean, the idea behind that is to do some hardcover limited editions, to do some paperback, to basically earn some money through some Kickstarter so that it can fuel us to be able to print the rest of them and sell them out. And then selling those becomes a priority for us and for you, because that's how both of us make money, right?
It's funny you should say that, because I don't know if you still follow Dean Wesley Smith's blog, but he's doing did you see he's doing another 10-year revision of his the indie author myths kind of thing? And one of those was we can't get our books in bookstores and all that sort of stuff. Like when I was with Thomas and Mercer, I couldn't get my books in bookstores. In fact, if I walked into a bookstore and said, you know, I'd like to do a signing, and they'd say, wait a minute, you're with Amazon Publishing? Get the fuck out. That's basically what they'd say.
Yeah, because it's Thomas and Mercer. Yeah, it was associated with Amazon.
Right.
And they all hate Amazon.
But Dean just came out and said, like, 10 years ago, I would have said, these are the paths you need to take to get your books into those bookstores, and it's so important. Now he revised it, and he said, you're not going to make any money. It's good. No shit. Oh, now we're back again.
Now you're back again.
This thing has been weird. But he said, you know, you can go through hoops to try to get into the bookstores, but he's like, let me tell you something, it's just not worth it anymore. You're selling electronically globally, you're selling your audio. You know, it's nice to have your books in certain bookstores, whatever, but he's like, there's just not enough bookstores, and there's not enough shelf space in the bookstores. And it's just even with a major traditional publisher, there's very likely
the major traditional publishers pay to play for their top titles to be in those bookstores, and we as indies cannot compete with that and pay to play in stores like Barnes and Noble or whatever. I don't know, you keep flashing in and out and you're going all kinds of crazy. But anyway, like, there's not enough shelf space in there, and we're not going to get in those stores for the most part. Now, sometimes in your local store you can, if you go and, you know, beg or whatever. But I always tell people, so if they buy that book, let's say through Ingram Spark or wherever you're direct publishing, wherever you're having your books print on demand, you make about $1 per book, $1.50 per book by the time you're done. So the place to sell your physical copies is direct on your website, or through Kickstarter or your TikTok shop or whatever, so that you're making the majority of the money. Because when you're selling them through a bookstore, you're just not making any money. So if you have a title that sells 1 million copies through Barnes and Noble, well, you might get $1 million, right? But that's ridiculous. If you have a book that sells 300 of those copies, if you sell 300 digital copies, you're going to make $1,500, $2,000, right? If you sell 300 physical copies, which seems they cost more, right? They're in the store. So your fans are like, look, I bought your book in the bookstore. Great. I got $1 from that. So I sold 300 in a bookstore. I got $300.
Right.
I sold 300 on Amazon or Draft to Digital or whatever. I got 1,500. Okay. Well, I know where I want to put my marketing is. So people go through a lot of effort to get things on bookstore shelves. And it's just like we were talking about with, like, you know, too many tools and stuff like that. They're going crazy about doing all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, let's do what moves the needle, what makes money.
It's just,
I mean,
for me, the point is, having done it all at this point, you too probably, it's just another phase. It's just another thing that's phasing out. It's just another thing that is done, you know, and it's just yet, and you know, and, I think Dean also said, like, you know, I don't entirely agree with him on this one, but he's like, forget about Amazon print, forget about it. It's just, you're not going to sell much there at all anymore. And, but actually, I'm selling a few paperbacks.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I think that's wrong in some ways, because I think that print is making a comeback. Young people are reading print more. They're same reason they're buying CDs and vinyl and all that kind of stuff is it's more throwback. The people that are using Kindles, I always tell people, are people my age, because it has a backlight and I can change the font size. So I can read it at night without my glasses in bed, and if it falls and hits me in the head when I fall asleep, then it doesn't hurt me.
Light out.
Right, exactly. But for young people, they're buying more and more paperback books, but they are buying them off Amazon or bookshop.org or other places like that, and not necessarily in a physical bookstore. But indie bookstores are making a comeback, but Barnes & Noble is struggling. But indie bookstores are making a comeback because they realize, first of all, it's about creating an experience for people to walk in, not just about having some books on the shelves, because having books on the shelves doesn't even matter anymore if people don't like the atmosphere. So, like, there's a couple places locally now that have pubs and bookstores, right? And you can go in, grab a beer, sit, read a book, right, and buy books, and people think it's great. Yeah, you're back again. I don't know. I keep being by myself in here.
I don't know. I think it's parallel universes. That's just
the parallel something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so those things are doing, places like that are doing well, or like have a coffee shop and a bookstore, but not like Barnes & Noble have a Starbucks in the middle of this huge, grandiose warehouse.
But why is that? Because they're not making money on the books. They're making money on the beer.
They're making money on the coffee. Well, and also, but at the same time, the books draw coffee drinkers in, and the coffee drinkers sometimes wander and buy books, right? Or whatever. And you have a nice, comfortable place to sit down and read part of the book and decide if you want to buy it or whatever, you know? It's a pattern that works, but like, you're not making money off of one thing or the other. You're making money off of both of them feeding each other, right? You go into the book pub, you're not just going to go buy a book. You're also going to grab a beer and maybe a burger or whatever they have, you know, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I think that that's part of like just providing experience. And some of those are saying, yeah, we want local authors. Like if you're a local author, you know, bring your books, we'll sell your books, whatever. Still, it's a lot of effort to make a little bit of money, but like, I don't mind the local exposure, and I don't mind supporting a local business more than I'm supporting Amazon, for example, right? Or Barnes & Noble, even, you know.
But let's face it, it's just phasing out. It's you know, and so you go where the future is, and the future, in my opinion, is still ebooks, and it's still audio and AI film and all that sort of stuff. That's the future. You know, speaking of which,
that's the future.
Speaking of which, is there going to be an Alibi Audio, a separate unit?
The short answer,
that if you're not ready to announce anything.
Oh no, well, the short answer is yes. The long answer is when, and that's a good question, because essentially, to open up an audio arm, we need money to invest, right? That's what we have to do to create an audio arm. We have some physical audio narrators. We also have the ability through like Spoken and 11 Labs and stuff like that to create some really good AI audio, although that's still very controversial with listeners and people who are listening. So I don't think exclusively doing that is the answer, but I think you can produce some really cool things by doing it. So at the same time, like part of it is we're seeing where that goes, but we have a bunch of narrators that they're not on our payroll, but they are parallel to the publisher. Like we can access them for creating audiobooks. In fact, I'm going to do one. We have a client who's paying us to do one that's a dual And so I'm going to be the male voice, and there's another one of our narrators that's going to do the female voice. We're going to both do that, right? But creating audiobooks is very expensive. So we have to have, again, it's about marketability. We have to have a way to market those. So only certain books will get that audio treatment from authors like you, who I know I can sell your books and sell your audiobooks. So I know I can make my money back. Because the principle behind it is, so we did not start, Stacy and I did not start any of our businesses that we do for authors to make bank, to make a bunch of money, right? It's just like being an author. We are not going to make a ton of money. We're not going to get super rich. We'll be comfortable, right? But we're not going to be super rich. But the deal with the publisher is, if I lose money on your book, there's an author down the road that I can't help. I can't publish their book because I have to make money in order to make it possible for me to continue doing this and continue to sell books. So for audio, yes, I want to have an audio, arm, but the audio arm is going to be dependent 100% on how well we can market books. And if we get some books in there that are losers, we'll just have to stop that. Not because we don't want to keep going, but because we can't. You know what I mean? There's some stuff I did last year that I'm not doing this year for writers. Like the writers retreat that we're having in October, right? Last year I scholarshiped a couple of people to get them to come. I'm just like, come, right? I lost my ass on that. I lost money, right? And so I'm like, I cannot do that this year. I can't lose money on that retreat. I have to make, in fact, I need to send you the link to sign up for that. But I can't lose money on this retreat. I can't. Because if I do, I can never do it again. Because I can't lose money 2 years in a row. You know
what? When I do my own little personal writers retreat in Europe in the fall, I usually budget myself, and I went way beyond budget this year. And so I'm yelling at myself, you can never do that again. I'm cutting you off. So you do it to yourself. It's when you look at your own personal list of indie books, you're like, well, you know what? This series isn't moving. I'm sorry, Vincent, but I'm going to have to I can't.
I'm going to have to cut you off. We're going to have to cancel that series because it's not working. It's the exact same thing. It's like we started talking about having too many apps and all those things that are not working for you. But in reality, it translates to everything that we do as writers and publishers. Like if it's not making money and it's not working for me, or there's not something else that comes out of it. There has to be personal satisfaction. Okay, you have a gym membership. You're not getting paid for that unless you're Arnold or something, but you're not getting paid for that, but the payoff is you're healthier, right? Okay, that's a bonus. All right, we'll take that. But I mean, a lot of things, you just literally have to weigh them, like you're saying, you overspent on that, Well, yeah. I mean, I under collected money. There's been 2 major events that I've created that I under collected money because I was being kind and being nice. And this year, Holly, my partner, basically said, no more being nice. This year you need to be straight business about this retreat because we can't lose money 2 years in a row.
No way.
We can't do it again. Right? No way. So it's one of those things that's I just want to give admissions away to all kinds of people. I can't. Because first of all, there's only 18 slots in that thing. So it's exclusive. So if you don't get a slot, you don't get a slot. But the other aspect of it is if I give 10 of those away, well, then what about the 8 people that paid full price? How do they feel about that? You know what I mean? Why didn't you give it to me? So I'm like, no, I can't. No, we just can't do it. So, I mean, it's part of that. We'd like to be nice to people when we're authors and editors and all that kind of stuff, but being nice doesn't pay my bills. So,
well, I think in the end, so far for me anyway, we're almost at March 1st, 2026, which means we're working for May, which means we're almost 6 months into the year already. And I for some reason this year, I just really feel the change. I can really feel
there is
massive independent movement that is just now. Before it used to be like I've told you this before. Like it used to be I was 20% independent and 80% traditional, and then it started shifting, and now I'm 20% traditional and 80% independent. But now I just see that, and so in other words, it was like a choice for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hot, and I was like, well, I'll be the hybrid guy anyway. I'll do both, right?
Yeah.
But now I can see that it's becoming. There's almost no choice, but this. If you get the occasional traditional contract, great. But you need to, if you're not setting up your own little prolific author business, you just ain't gonna make it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
then get a job, get a real job,
and
one of those
that's the idea behind Alibi. Really, is that it's supposed to be a part of your indie author business. This is not your primary. It used to be you get a publisher and there's your primary place to publish.
Right.
And I'm like, we are deliberately telling people, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to offer you some training and stuff like that we want you to use somewhere else too. Like, we're a part of your author career and a part of your author journey, but please don't put us as your, this is your ultimate thing. No,
which is really
it's not going to work out for you. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for us either.
It's a refreshing perspective, because I can remember when I published with, whichever publisher I had, and they'd be like, especially Thomas and Mercer, and because that's when I started really becoming prolific, and they were like, can you stop? Can you stop? And because
we can't handle the volume.
Yeah. Can you stop doing that? And I'm like, well, I don't. That's money in the bank for me, and finally they called my agent, and they're just like, you know what, Vince is just, too much going out. There's too much merchandise going out, and we can't compete with him, And I was like, well,
right, because that's because the publisher is seeing you as a competitor instead of a colleague. And this has been the huge mistake of publishers and of indie authors too, because for a long time, from the 12 and stuff like that, authors worked together to put out the stuff that then created success for everybody, right? So it was good for everybody. Well, then a lot of authors started to see each other as competitors. I love the story you tell about a certain author, you could name him if you want, who was jealous when you were getting an award, right? A book award. Yeah. And I'm like, to me, I love sitting in awards. Oh yeah, and I love sitting in an award ceremony and cheering another author on. I mean, that's good for all of us, dude. So relax. We're not competitors. We're colleagues who work together on things. So your publisher should be your partner in your career, not your competitor. So when you put out tons of other books that are not under that publisher, who cares?
Yeah. Oh, actually, this was what they said. They said Vince is wearing, and this is after 4 contracts with them, and plus another contract for anyway. And they're like, oh, Vince is wearing himself thin. That's what they told Chip, my agent at the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop writing, just because they're telling me, don't write anymore.
Or slow down.
Stories. This is what I do, sorry,
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Any case, these evil people. All right, buddy. So where can everybody get you? At TroyLambertStories.com.
Yeah, TroyLambertStories.com. If you're a writer and you're interested in education, check out PrintToPro.com. Stacy and I's stuff is on both is there. She has a monthly webinar, The Boss. She has a monthly webinar where she talks about business, about the business of writing. And she talked about, this last month, she talked about branding. And it was actually a pretty damn good conversation. And then I have one about craft. So the next one I have on craft is coming up on Tuesday. You can join it for free. All you have to do is go to the website, do the little sign up thing, and you can come join it for free. This month I have over 150 15 people registered for it. So come join this small little group that we're going to talk about craft.
All right. See, I don't go anywhere near craft stuff because like I write the way I write now, and I don't want to. Like I'm done.
Well,
I'm done learning that stuff. You know?
Right. Once you get to a certain age, okay. So, but I'm just going to do a little rant, little caveat at the end of our thing here.
Sure.
Like in some ways, you should always be learning, but when you reach a certain point, writing more is actually a process of learning because you're training yourself. It's like when you know how to run. Right. And you don't go get a running coach again. You just keep running until you're ready for the marathon. Right. Or whatever. Then you run the race. So writing is similar. There's always more to learn and you can. Right. But the problem is like you would come to my craft class. You'd be like, God damn, I know that already. I learned it in college. Right. What it's really for is writers that are up and coming where you have a steep learning curve. I know you clearly didn't contract 3 months out of college. You're like,
writing
crap,
school,
man.
Yeah.
Writing school. I'm not talking about the rest of college. I don't care about. Anyway, that's a whole other topic for another day.
Though, wasn't it? College was great. All I did was party and.
I tell people in the first couple of years I majored in women and beer, and then I found out that was a really crowded major. There really wasn't much of a future in that. And, it was fun.
It was great.
There wasn't.
It was awesome.
But new writers coming up, they have the steep learning curve initially of like learning how to write. Like even if you've got talent, you need to learn how to write, like how to apply that talent. But once you've done it, like then what happens? Like for me, like now I take master's level classes on story structure because I don't want to go to your little, like I love John D. Brown, great instructor, right? Cool guy. I don't go to his classes because I could teach his classes. Oh, there you go again. You came back. Oh my God.
I know.
But anyway, you know what I mean?
I think like I die and then I come back. Mm-hmm. A parallel me comes back.
It's kind of like it's
wacko. Having these heart attacks.
I'm having a couple heart attacks over here. Hang on. I'll be done in just a second. Let me just take my little pill. But anyway, so that's my rant. You're right. I don't go to those classes because I could teach them, but I go to more advanced classes because I do want to keep learning. It's just for me to do that, I have to go up a level, like to the master's level. I can't go to a conference and some of those conferences, like I'll sit in on a class or on a panel or whatever, and I'll take a little nugget away, right? But most of it that they're talking about up there is not going to be applicable to me, or most of it in a course is not going to be applicable to me. I'm better off taking a marketing course at this point than to focus on the craft. But when you're first starting out, focusing on the craft is really important because like we said at the beginning, the one thing you have to have when you approach a publisher, when you indie publish, whatever way that you do it, you have to have a good story. It has to be a good, well-written story. If you don't have that, none of the rest of what we talk about matters. Nothing.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah. It just doesn't matter. And you're absolutely right. And that's the attitude to have. And that's the path you should take. But, there's certain things at this stage of my game where I'm like, this is what I'm going to do from now on. Like with the, at this stage of my life, and this is what I'm going to do. And that's it, which is silly because, you have to be, you have to go with the flow a little bit, like not everything.
Yeah, you have to go with the flow a little bit. But I mean, like I say, you get to our level and you've been writing for this long, like you really do have to reach to get classes that really, really hit you with something and have any kind of a meaning, or you have to work with like just a stellar editor who gives you a developmental edit that you go, oh man, okay, all right, I have I have some stuff to learn. But the problem is like 90% of the time with publishers, you don't get that. With freelance editors, you might, if you get the right one, but like, you're not gonna get those advanced classes. Like I put in to teach an advanced class at the conference in November on semiotics, right? Super fun class, super interesting to learn about. But like if you're a brand new writer, don't come to my class on semiotics. You can be like, what the hell is semiotics anyway? And what does it matter to me? It doesn't matter to you right now. Yeah. Semiotics is
oh, go ahead.
It's the science of signs. So it's the principle that like So if I say dog, everybody in the room thinks of a different kind of dog because they don't think of the same thing when they think of dog. They're not thinking of the same thing I'm thinking of, because I'm thinking of my 95-pound German Shepherd that once fed, They're thinking about the Chihuahua that their mom had when they were a kid or whatever,
The mean little
So
Chihuahua.
if it doesn't matter to your story what the dog looks like, you just say the word dog. Like you can just say things like Smoky Bar, and people go, "Oh, Smoky Bar." They all have a different image of Smoky Bar, but what it looks like in their brain doesn't matter to your story. That's all the explanation you need, right? But if that Smoky Bar, if it has to look a certain way for the story to work, for the characters to move through it and stuff, then you need to describe more. So you need to use certain signs that create certain images in your reader's head. So it's just about the image you're creating in the reader's head, and that's called science. It's called semiotics. It's the science of signs. It goes deeper than that, but the part that matters to writers is the language part of it. So
right. Funny, I didn't know about this because I actually did my dissertation in writing school on imagery, and a good rule of thumb. And I know we're going too long, but what was the rule? The rule was every great book uses imagery throughout. In other words, say the images of water. And so you're going to see not only the word water more often, but like rain, melting snow, a pool, a tub. And what that imagery does, if it's weaved in and out, I actually would count how many times the image was used. And sometimes I'll do this consciously in my novels, sometimes I won't. But every time it's weaved in and out like that throughout the novel, there's something happens in the reader's brain that makes a connection and wakes the subconscious up and the conscious up a little bit. And so I guess the rule was not every book has that imagery, but every good book does. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, exactly. And that's the way. The more writing is about thinking and feeling. So the more you as an author are thinking and feeling as you're putting things into your book, the more the reader will think and feel. It's kind of just the rule of the way things work. So you don't have to, when you're writing your first draft of your very first book, don't be thinking about semiotics while you're writing it, or even thinking about imagery while you're writing it. But when you're in revision, it's not a bad idea. To be stopping and thinking about that. What am I doing? What is the real point of this book and the real theme of this book? Because once you get past the fact of that you're rewriting because you haven't figured out how to write a sentence yet, right? By the time you're at Vincentized level, when you're revising and going back through, at least when I'm going back through a book before I put it out or whatever, before I hand it to an editor, I'm looking for those little things now, because the big things are good. I can craft a paragraph. I can craft a sentence. What I need to do is be looking at those emotions that I'm adding and those images that I'm adding, and what do those mean to the reader, and what do I want the reader to feel here, and how can I make them do that? And so it becomes a much more smaller scale manipulative game of how can I make them feel the way I was feeling? And that's what I do, because I don't need to look at the big things anymore. That's not but when you're first starting out, you have to start with, figuring out, why does this paragraph make no sense? Right? It's just a different level.
I'll tell you something. Every book I've had that has at least been up for award or won the award, I've used this. I made a point of using this and structuring the book in such a way. And you can't miss it. And then books that have been ignored, but maybe it's sold okay, I haven't used it. Just because I'm this is a piece of pulp, and it's ready to go. It's entertaining, it's ready to go. But anyway. All right, buddy. I will talk to you this week, I'm sure, and maybe we'll get the boss on next time. And for everybody else,
you betcha.
Not sure when I'm coming to you this week, because it's going to be another busy one, and we got major snowstorm coming in. So supposed to get 2 feet of snow, something like that. New York City's going to be already 3,000 flights in the Northeast canceled. New York City's supposed to get 2 feet. So
Boston got hit hard last week, right? Boston got hit pretty hard last week, right?
But
they're going to get hit again.
So,
yeah.
So I'm happy.
Wild stuff.
Yeah. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care, man.
Ciao, ciao, everybody.